Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. My reading plan for this week was to read 3 works of history with less than 300 pages. Alexander at the End of the World by Rachel Kousser. Great Kingdoms of Africa, edited by John Parker. And Against the World by Zahra. Of the 3, 1/3 was successful. The other 2 were bails. So let's start with Alexander at the End of the World by Rachel Kousser. This is a biography of Alexander the Great from the sacking of Persepolis through to his death in Babylon a few years later, and in between the subjugation of the Eastern Persian Empire, the invasion of India, what is now Pakistan, the sort of withdrawal from Pakistan through the Makran Desert, and his year or so of actually being a king rather than just a conqueror. I liked the book quite a bit. The writing is okay. It wasn't spectacular, but Kousser is quite effective in drawing a very sympathetic portrait of Alexander the Great. What I especially liked about the book is how Kousser uses sources outside of the standard classical sources to supplement her Alexander information, the biography. She uses Persian sources, Babylonian sources, and also archaeology. I also like her treatment of Alexander's relationships, particularly with Hephaestion and Barsine and Roxanne, and also Satira. And also her sort of interrogation of the rank and file of the Macedonian and Greek armies. Also quite interesting. And I also found it interesting her sort of trying to explain why Alexander went on. What drove him to not only conquer Persia, but also seemingly desire to conquer the rest of the world as well. This sort of argument, this pathos to see the ocean, to see the world's end. But I also wonder, and also the contrast between that and sort of what the rank and file of the Macedonian army wanted. Although it's never entirely sort of delved too deeply into that contrast of Alexander basically wanting to be the great king, wanting to rule. And also on the Macedonians and certainly the Greeks' part, seeing this war as probably just a glorified, extended pillaging expedition. So that was all rather interesting. My issue with the book is that I think with the thesis that this later part of Alexander's career is what made him great. I'm not entirely sure that's entirely accurate or proved. And also the argument that this phase of Alexander's life is relatively forgotten. I will agree it is glossed over, but not forgotten. So that was Alexander at the End of the World. And we have a storm. And we normally do not get storms in August. Anyway, moving on to the Bales. So, Great Kingdoms of Africa, edited by John Parker. So this is a collection of chapters looking at various kingdoms in Africa. So I'll just run down the sort of chapters. So the first chapter is Ancient Egypt and Nubia, Kings of Flood and Kings of Rain. The chapter 2 is the Sudanic Empires, the Gold, the Arts, the River. Chapter 3 is the Solomonic Kingdom, Christian Kingdom of Ethiopia. Chapter 4 is the Yoruba and Benin Kingdoms. 5 is the Congo Kingdom. 6 is Buganda. 7 is from Hausa Kingdoms to the Sokoto Caliphate. Chapter 8 is the Akan Forest Kingdom of Asante. And Chapter 9 is the Zulu Kingdom. So I think I was looking for a general introduction to these kingdoms rather than what the book is, which is a very academic exploration of topics relating to kingship. So I ultimately bailed on the book. So Against the World by Zahra is a history of sort of the end of the globalization that typified the later Victorian and early 20th century. And so the book covers just before the First World War and through to the Second World War. I rather immediately found myself not liking the book. I just really did not connect with the writing style. So part of the reason why I have Against the World is Against the World was, excuse me, longlisted for last year's Kindle History Prize. And I, for some reason, decided to collect the long-listed books that I thought sounded most interesting to me, and not one of them worked for me. This is the last one that I tried. The others I have since gotten rid of. And so this one will be joining them sometime next year. Excuse me. And so I've been thinking a lot about the Kindle History Prize lately. The long list was for the 2024 prize was announced August 1st, and I've been meaning to make a video about that, but it hasn't quite worked out. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that, because in a way, given that last year was a dud for me, and looking at the books, they're not really screaming out to me either for this year. So I don't know quite what I want to do about the Kindle History Prize. Hopefully I will figure it out either at the end of, well, during this weekend or sometime next weekend. Hopefully make a video that will work out. So after I decided to bail on Against the World, I decided that, okay, for the rest of the week, I'm going to read some poetry, because I did get 2 poetry hauls in just recently that I have yet to read. And while I did read 4 volumes of poetry, I also, during that period, decided that I wanted to try another work in translation, which I will talk about now. And that is Paradais by Fernanda Melchor, translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes. So Paradise is about 2 toxic young men, Fernando and Polo. Fernando is the grandson of 2, and he lives with 2 elderly, wealthy individuals who live in this housing estate. Polo is a gardener who dropped out of school. So Fernando and Polo are roughly the same age. The two have begun a ritual um, of meeting up near the river, um, with Fernando providing money to Polo to go and buy liquor and cigarettes. And while they're hanging out, the Fernando obsesses over a neighbor that he is very much in lust with, um, to the point that his porn addiction has been largely nullified. Um, and he wants to very clearly eventually rape her. And much like with Fernanda Melchor's earlier hurricane season, the two will eventually get into quite a lot of trouble and cause a lot of mayhem. Now, while I did manage to read Hurricane Season, which is about two young men who are rather toxic, murdering a local transgendered bruja, um, and somehow managed to read it. This one, I just, I really did not like it, so I bailed. And I was thinking about um, spending some time talking about my relationship with modern and especially contemporary literary fiction, whether in English or in translation. And I still want to talk about that. Um, but I want to do it in a separate video, much like with the Kindle History Prize. So hopefully I can figure out how I want to say it in a way that will not make me just abandon the video. So on to the 4 volumes of poetry that I read. First up is Night Logic by Matthew Gellman. This is a chapbook, and I quite liked it. A lot of the poems in here were quite good, quite moving. I'm not as fond of A Stem by Stella Wong. Most of the poems did not really work for me. Next, I read I Was Working by Ariel Yelen. I rather like this collection. Of the two collections that the Princeton series of contemporary poets put out this year, I think this is the stronger of the two. And I wrapped up this reading week with The Screams of War by Akram Alkatreb, translated by Jonas Elbousty. And I really like this collection. This selected edition of Alcatreb's poems were very good. I really enjoyed it. So, my reading plans for next week. I'm going to be reading all manga for the rest of August. So, starting this weekend and through the next work week and into the 31st, the last Saturday of August, I will be reading manga. So, next weekly reads will probably be insanely long because there will be a lot of manga that I will have read. I do have a book haul that I'll either do tomorrow or Monday. So I received earlier this week 2 volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho and from Book People, and I'm going to be receiving 3 new releases in some of the manga series that I've been following tomorrow, if everything goes according to plan. If not, it will be Monday, if the post office is a bit delayed. But so I'll be reading particularly the new releases are definitely on my agenda. As far as Yu Yu Hakusho is concerned, maybe not, because I'd actually ordered 3 volumes, 10, 11, and 12 from Book People, but volume 12 is being reprinted. So when exactly it will be released, I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully, relatively soon, so I can get back to work with Yu Yu Hakusho. Although I have begun to collect the rest of the series, um, and I put in a insanely large order with Powell's, the great bookstore in Portland, Oregon, earlier today, which will come in probably not this coming week, but the next week, more than likely. And so that probably will be a bit too late for this big reading project, but I'll get to them eventually too. And I've added several volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho to where I think I have 13 and 17 and 18, I think, are the ones that I will be missing. So I will make an effort to pick them up as well. So anyway, moving on to video plans for next week. I will hopefully be able to finally make my umpteenth attempt to figure out what exactly it is about modern and contemporary literary fiction that keeps drawing me in, even though 19 times out of 20 I bail. That I really do not get on with modern and contemporary literary fiction. But I keep getting drawn back in. Don't know why. And also the Kendall History Prize, which I think what I will do is not read the descriptions of the books, or if I do, find a way to do it not using Amazon. Because unless, of course, everybody's more interested in Beyblade than Judgment of Tokyo, yeah, that was annoying when I tried it earlier today. Because what I've been doing with the Kendall History Prize, because I've made 2 attempts to talk about the long list, and both times I would go to Amazon and read the descriptions, and as I would type the book in, and Amazon is not taking me to the book, it's taking me to something completely different. So yeah, that was kind of annoying. Also, you might be wondering why I'm in my library and not in the little manga room. Well, today I rearranged the little manga room so that my bed would be more advantageously placed vis-a-vis the air conditioner vent. And I think we've got it. And so I had to move some of the bookcases and reshelve them. And I'm not entirely happy with how I have the manga shelved, so I might have to redo that. But I need to figure out the filming location in there. I'm still going to use an end table to do the filming, but I think you would rather prefer having bookcases behind me than a window. So I'm going to try to work that out. And of course, I'll probably be doing some tags and any discussion videos that come to mind. And hopefully, I will eventually figure out how to do my manga tour, which will conclude my 2024 library tour. But the problem is that I realized I have like over 600 volumes of manga. So, anyway. So I don't know necessarily if a single video will work. But anyway, that's all I have for this week. I will be back either this weekend or Monday with a book haul and new video. So until then, thank you. Have a great evening and weekend, and stay safe.